my role is I'm the engineering manager for the Open edX team at edX. So I work for edX, the nonprofit organization. Michael had a very helpful slide at the beginning detailing sort of the difference between edX as a nonprofit and an organization that hosts edX.org. And also it is the largest contributor to the Open edX project and community. And so it's important to understand those differences and how those things interact with each other. It's my job, and let's go ahead here. It's my job as a manager of the Open edX team to really increase the reach and adoption of the Open edX platform. And these are sort of the 4 things that I think about when I'm thinking about what it is that I want to accomplish and how I want to accomplish that goal of growing this ecosystem that everyone here has been so effusive in their praise of, which I really appreciate. So communication, providing forums, providing areas, spaces. We have a Slack channel, we have Google Groups, we have a portal, wiki, all these things. Providing those forums, moderating them, making sure that they're staying up to date, making sure that people are on them, both from the community and also making sure that people from edX are actively participating in those forums. So you go on Slack, you will find edX engineers. They will respond to you, provided that they're awake, because it's if you're coming from Japan and you're posting in the middle of our night, you might not get a response right away. But you'll get timely responses directly from people who are actively working on the code that you are interested in, actively building the features that you want to learn about. Those people are directly accessible. And it's my job to make sure that that's the case. Extension, the things that Lorena was talking about, XBlocks is one example, making sure that the APIs are there. Open edX is a platform that we want to be the basis, but edX, the nonprofit, the engineering organization, is never going to build every single feature. We want to incorporate those features that we think make sense, the ones that we want to deploy on edX.org, but we want everyone in the community to have the capability to build the features that they want. We also want you to have the capability to experiment, right? We want everyone to go out and experiment and see what works, what doesn't, and then we want to sort of bring into the product the best practices that the community is learning, and in that way sort of grow the product and make those things more accessible. Contribution, really just owning the process of how something gets from a piece of code or even just an idea that someone in the community has. How does it go from that idea to actually sitting in GitHub or in some other place that other people in the community can use it? And then in collaboration, so finding topics that you and the community are interested in. There will often be those things that people in the community want to build and can come together to build that edX itself is not going to build. And we want to help find those opportunities and create those spaces and create the environment for you all to be able to work on those. And we want to give guidance, we want to give feedback, we want to help that from both a technical perspective, but also from the communication and those perspectives. So that's just sort of my role, my team's role, what we're trying to accomplish. So the topic that I decided to sort of focus on, and I could have spoken in detail on any one of those bullet points and any of the other things that Paul and Lorena and Michael and Jennifer have touched on. We could spend an hour talking on XBlocks or whatever. But this is timely just because we're in the middle of making the next release of the Open edX platform. We make these releases 3 times a year to support these sorts of concepts. We want there to be sort of a common frame of reference. If people are talking about, oh, I'm having this problem, I'm seeing this error, but before we had these, we would say, well, when did you check out the code? What date was it? What was the commit hash? And you're talking to someone, what are you talking about commit hash? I don't know, I downloaded a file and unzipped it or whatever. So really providing a consistent frame of reference, something that has been tested by us and by the community. support. So this is something that we've actually done in really the last 6 months is, and really Cypress, the last release, and we have tree name releases. So we started with Aspen, Birch, Cypress, and now we're on to Dogwood. The next one after Dogwood is going to be Eucalyptus, which really, yeah. They're literally
like any other trees with ease.
Well, so there's two things about this. So one is yeah, right. So elm. So elm's the other one, right? Can anyone name another tree type that starts with E? Anyone?
It's not stupid, but is eucalyptus a tree?
No, it's not. Someone has already brought that up, and we're just blazing right by that. So, I mean, Elm, there's already a large project called Elm. There's also a very smaller project called Eucalyptus, but anyway, it is what it is. So Cypress, we introduced support for security fixes. We do anything that we determine as a Cat 1, Cat 2, which is a sort of well-documented categorizations. Anyone can go see what that means, but we'll provide a patch for those things. When we find them, we have a whole security process. Another topic that we could spend hours, days talking about. We're also well-documented supported migration, so we want people to be able to move from release to release in a smooth way. This is something that we've sort of been getting better and better at. The migration from Cypress to Dogwood is particularly interesting because of some technical features, but we're supporting it. We're going through the work of making sure that is documented and automated and all those things. And we want to find what the right cadence is. And so this is something where actually I really appreciate feedback from the community, like what the right cadence is from the community's perspective in terms of balancing speed and stability. I mean, to a certain degree, there are engineers at edX who are committing to master every day. I mean, by the hour. So obviously, we're not going to go through this process for each and every one of those commits. edX.org releases weekly. They're living life on the edge. Some other people choose to do that. You can choose to do that. You can follow master. That's an option available to you. We don't provide this support, and it has these other, like the migration. You may come to a release that has some migration. We didn't document it because we did it ourselves, but we weren't really expecting anyone else to do it. So we want to provide that stability, but then we also, because we're making all those changes, we want them to get to the community as quickly as possible. And so that's 3 times a year is sort of where we feel like we're making the right balance. But if you have other ideas, other suggestions about that, definitely let us know. So here we have a little description about supported and included. This is something that we're still feeling our way through some of these things. So there are features that we refer to in the release notes, and everything is supported, and there are other things that are included because they're there, they exist, you can turn them on, but they may not be as well documented. They may or may not, we may or may not have the bandwidth to provide security fixes for them. Certainly if there's a security fix related to that code, that whether or not you have it turned on or off, like we will certainly patch that. But if it's not in that included category and you can fix the security issue by simply not using it, then that might be something that we don't have the bandwidth to provide a patch for that. Anyway, there's a full document on our wiki about all of that, but just these are a couple of terms that we're starting to use. We're sort of refining the classifications. This is in Dogwood, and I should have put the timeline on here. So we're in the middle of the release candidate process. We are releasing the second release candidate probably this week, which will be the first one that includes the migration script. And then we're shooting to have it released probably in like 2 or 3 weeks is the time frame that we're shooting for the actual Dogwood release. The supported components are the base platform, the LMS and Studio, Aura 2, the open response assessment, and forums. We'll be including these, but not fully supporting them. E-commerce has a new engine called Auto. Is anyone here like really into Python? Does anyone know the Oscar platform in Python? Okay, all right. Well, so the funny story about Auto is that Oscar is a open source payment processing library or e-commerce library. And Auto is our sort of integration of that into the edX platform. It turns out Auto is Oscar's brother from Sesame Street. So I thought that was funny. So we'll be including our insights, the analytics platform, and mobile applications, actually. We will be tagging those and providing a base level version of the mobile applications that will work with Dogwood. So it's really exciting. These are all things that we're doing for the first time. You can see here what's new. So Django 1.8, again, if you're really into the technical details of Python, we were on Django 1.4, which was getting end of life. This was a huge upgrade for us. Probably not that interesting in terms of features, but a big technical hurdle that we got over and is really exciting from a platform perspective. New e-commerce system, mobile assessments. So the first generation of the edX, Open edX mobile application, if you've used it, was really just a sort of offline video playback service. We now have full support for courses and mobile assessments. There's even more coming down the line. I'll show that on the next slide. Video data and insights, comprehensive theming. We've had a number of different sort of fits and starts of theming features, but comprehensive theming, we think this is the one that we're moving everything into this model. File uploads and open response assessments, timed exams, certificate generation process. These are all sort of the nuts and bolts of the platform. So Eucalyptus, as we discussed, a controversial name, I understand. But what's coming, so mobile, we have all these great features coming to the mobile application: profiles, native course discovery, push notifications, forums, per learner analytics and insights, better support and documentation for auto programs, which on edX.org they're referred to as X series. So that's groups of courses essentially that represent some larger sort of program. Or a staff grading, there's a laundry list of other TNL features. That's the highlight for the moment. So that's sort of where we are and where we're going from the Open edX release standpoint. I wanted to include this at the end just as another sort of note about how to find me, how to find other edX engineers, and how you all can find each other. So we have the main site is the portal, open.edx.org. That's where you can find links to all of these things. There's a link to the community discussions. There will be announcements. There will be announcements about, for instance, the 2016 Open edX conference, which we have not yet announced, but we are shooting for June, Bay Area. That's as much as I'm prepared to say right now, but probably in the next week or so we'll have a big announcement about that. And that's it. So we'll have Q&A. I guess we'll have Q&A later. So thank you all for your time.